Well, Louisiana farmers grow sugarcane on more than 500,000 acres across the state and contribute more than $4 million a year to the Louisiana's economy. That's according to the American Sugarcane League.
What is demand going to look like for the coming year with a new administration and a new head of Health and Human Services? That was one of the topics at this year's American Sugarcane League annual meeting. Louisiana is the top producer of sugarcane in the country. Farmers here are on pace to produce more than 2.1 million tons of sugar this year. American Sugar Alliance Director of Economics and Public Policy, Dr. Robert Johansson, says that's good news, but that does not mean all is good for sugarcane farmers.
The storyline is, generally speaking, high costs, softening prices, and that's bringing down farm income. We saw that happen pretty much across all agricultural economy. Not as much for sugar, which is a bright spot. You know, sugarcane and sugar beet production has been holding up a little bit more than corn, soybeans, wheat, and some of the other crops. And I think looking forward, that's likely to be the case for next year too.
Johansson says he expects domestic sugar prices to drop slightly in the coming year, possibly to 35 cents per pound. That's because world stocks remain high and demand remains steady. That's despite consumers facing high prices at the grocery store.
I think it's fair to say that consumers have been backing away from food purchases, including food that has a lot of sugar in it. And that has softened our deliveries for sugar. I think that's undeniable. Will that continue into the future? I don't think so. I think we've hit the bottom in terms of food inflation. I think it's going to be at a more level pace at this point in time, and consumers will be out there buying what they normally would buy.
While inflation may not be a factor, the appointment of Robert Kennedy Jr. to lead the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services could sway consumer trends.
The MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, is something that's in our radar.
American Sugarcane League General Manager Jim Simon says he's hopeful demand for pure cane sugar will remain steady.
Sugar's a natural sweetener. It's the sweetener of choice. And so we do have some level of concern that there's discussion about reformulating products on the shelves, on grocery store shelves by manufacturers to lower caloric content. But quite often they do that at the cost of supplanting sugar with chemical food additives. And is that what we really want to do? And is that what RFK really wants? To create situations where they're attempting to reduce sugar by offsetting it with chemical sweeteners. So we think that if folks stay in their lane, we'll be okay. There may be some adjustments in consumption, but we don't think it's going to be anything terribly significant that would cause collapse in the domestic sugar market. And remember, we have to import sugar into the U.S. So if consumption falls just a little bit, maybe we just import a little bit less.
We've looked at sugar consumption per capita, or sucrose consumption per capita over the past 10 years or so, and it's been pretty level. It hasn't really changed that much. Consumers are eating roughly the same amount per capita of sucrose that they have been over the last 10 years. And obesity, and whether it's childhood or adult obesity, has generally been trending upwards despite that. In the same token, consumers have been eating fewer calories through sweeteners per capita over time. As I mentioned, sucrose consumption is flat, but consumption of high fructose corn syrup by extension has been falling over time.
Another important topic at the annual meeting was a new farm bill. Jim Simon was quick to point out the no-cost sugar program in the farm bill could use some updating when it comes to the loan rate, which hasn't been adjusted in 10 to 15 years. He also says farmers are talking about some improvements that could happen on the crop insurance side.